Hey everybody, Shawn Tubbs here. Thanks for tuning in. This is the Suhr Dual Channel Overdrive Distortion pedal. Really versatile, great sounding pedal. It has two channels that are completely independent of each other. Now both circuits are exactly the same, but where the beauty is you can actually EQ both channels totally independently because you've got a 3-band passive EQ on both sides, as well as a global voice control, which is really cool. It basically allows you to globally adjust the overall tone of the pedal to match either a bright amp or a dark amp, or in some cases if you just have a really bright guitar or a darker guitar, you can kind of globally get that all set up and then start tweaking your channels for whatever it is you would like to achieve. So let's get into the controls. Now, because these controls are exactly the same on both sides, I'll just cover the blue channel, the first channel controls, and it'll be exactly the same on the second channel. So if you look at the pedal, you've got a gain control and you've got a level control. The gain control obviously sweeps the wide gain range that this pedal is capable of. The level control controls the overall output of the pedal, and it's got a ton of output. Now the EQ is a passive EQ. So on the left you've got your bass control. In the middle you've got your middle control, and then on the right you've got your treble control. And then in the center of the pedal we've got the voice control, which, as I mentioned, globally controls the overall tone of the pedal. The two channels act independently of each other. They don't run at the same time, so if you step on the blue switch and then hit the red switch, it's going to toggle straight to that. Or if you want to toggle back to the blue, you just step on the other side, it'll toggle back. And then if you want to bypass it, obviously step on the same switch and it'll bypass. So that's the controls on the face of the pedal. Now on the back of the pedal, you've got your input and output, obviously, and your 9 volt to 18 volt input as far as your voltage goes. So obviously, I played it at 9 volts. If you hit it with 18 volts, you're going to get more headroom, and I think that's desirable. It just depends on what you're after, but for demo purposes, I ran it as a 9 volt. Now there is a small 3-way switch back here. Basically, it's set up so that if it's in the center, when you power the pedal up, when you plug it in or power it up, nothing's going to turn on. In other words, neither of the channels will turn on. But say this pedal's mounted in a rack and you want it to automatically, when it's powered up, turn the blue channel on, you can set that switch to do that. And same with the red channel. Now there's also a mini 1/8 inch switch called the FX Link. And basically what that's going to allow you to do is use a controller like the Boss, I think it's called the ES8, to turn the pedal on and off remotely if you wish to do that. So that's a really cool idea, and just makes the pedal that much more usable. Though the last thing I want to mention before we go into the demo, with this pedal, if the battery gets too low, and because this is a true bypass pedal, so when it's bypassed, the circuit's completely out, and it just goes basically guitar to amp. If it gets too low in voltage, it'll actually automatically go to true bypass. So at least, worst case scenario, you're still passing signal. You're not just dead in the water. So without further ado, let's check out this Suhr Eclipse Dual Channel Overdrive. Okay, you guys, let's check this thing out. I'm going to play this through my Red Plate Blues Machine amp. It's the same amp I used for the performance piece up top. I've got it dialed pretty darn clean so we can kind of make this pedal do all the work. So here's just the guitar into the amp. And here is the Eclipse. So how I have it dialed right now is kind of the way I used it in the performance, I have a little bit more gain just for shock value on the second channel. But I've got it dialed to go from kind of, you know, bluesy tones to kind of higher gain, like rock solo tones. I'll stay on the humbucker real quick. So as you can hear there, I kind of turned the gain down on the second channel so it wouldn't be as extreme. And that's closer to how I kind of had it when I dialed it up for the performance song. Now both these channels are exactly the same, and what you do with them is you just change the perspective EQs for both channels for whatever you're wanting. It could be like all just back humbucker but low gain, like crunch rhythm, to high gain solo, and you may want, you know, more mids or less mids for your solo tone, or maybe more or less top end. Essentially it's working like a really great, you know, channel switching amp would. So let's just stay on the blue channel, and I'll kind of go through the 3-band EQ and the gain, so you can kind of get an idea of what's going on, as well as this kind of global voice control. So right now we've got it dialed lower gain, and once again I'll let you hear it off. Okay, so on the level control alone, you can really crank the front end of an amplifier on this thing. Right now, it's just a little bit hotter, but we can turn it up. And you could use it for more of a boost box. I mean, you could turn the gain like way down and just start hitting the amp really hard if you wanted to run it almost as like this channel is an always on channel, which would be really cool too. But that gives you an idea of how much level you can hit. Sorry, I was just checking to make sure I wasn't killing my Pro Tools rig. So that's a lot of jump. But the nice thing is it doesn't have to be that hot to sound great. I like it right there. Okay, so that's the level. Let's look at the gain control really quick. I'll just shut it off. So a pretty wide range of gain there. And obviously if you crank it way up, you're going to want to roll off low end. So it'll stay tighter for you. So with EQ in mind, let's listen to the EQ bands really quick. I'll just start with the bass. There's the bass off. About 12 o'clock. Here's all the way up. Okay, now I'll do the same thing with the mids control. So here's mids off. Mids at about 12 o'clock. And mids cranked. nice mid control. And treble, let's try that. Here's treb off. Here's treb at 12 o'clock. Here's treb all the way up. So it doesn't get nasty when you crank the treble. If anything, it just gets a little more stringy. So when you're going back and forth between channels, you may have one channel set up for, you know, maybe a little more low end with a little more treb, you know, back position humbucker thing. And then on the second channel, you may want like more mids and maybe kind of a smoother overdrive tone. So, you know, your crunch to slightly louder, fatter solo. So that's how all that works. The EQ is killer. Keep in mind, the two channels are never play at the same time. They're independent of each other. So they'll toggle back and forth real quick, or you can shut either channel off by hitting the switch again. Now the only thing I need to go through real quick is the universal voice, which is so cool because it just allows you to dial the pedal in globally to whatever amp you're using. So if you've got an amp that's real dark, you can compensate here before you even start touching your EQ. So I'll just roll that really quick. Like right now it's set kind of where it worked good with this amp. Here's off. Now obviously to the extreme that's awfully bright, but if you had a super dark amp or a super like bright amp, or even just a really bright guitar, you can compensate with that globally for both channels, get that dialed in, and then start messing with your EQ on the channels. So yeah, that's the Suhr Eclipse. It's a really great sounding overdrive distortion pedal. Obviously with questions, you know, go to the website and reach out to them, ask away. And as always, you guys, thanks so much for tuning in to my demo videos, and I'll have more to come soon. Thanks, guys.